I think first of all, I'd like to say that I'm very happy to be here. I think I've been wanting to come to Brazil for a very long time, and I'm especially thankful for the opportunity to meet some of my colleagues from South Africa. It's actually crazy. It's the first time that we've actually met, and we work in different parts of the country, so thank you for that. I think I'm also thankful that I've discovered maracuja. I've developed a new favorite drink, I think. I'll have to go look for it in Cape Town. I'm going to be sharing a bit about our home visiting program in Cape Town. It's currently operating in 10 different sites in Cape Town. And it's an attachment-based parent-infant intervention provided by community counselors. You call them home visitors, and we call them community counselors. It's the same thing. These are just some pictures of some of the parents and caregivers involved in our program. I thought it would be nice to show some pictures so you can actually see, the families that we work with, and it's across different cultures in Cape Town. I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the Parent Center because I think it's important to contextualize it a bit, and especially my South African colleagues who don't know about the Parent Center, I think it's helpful. And then how we started the program and how it developed, the structure and content of the program, how it's applied in the South African context, particularly looking at some of the challenges of mental illness, substance abuse, and so on, and then also sharing some of the lessons that we've learned. I also want to say at this point, I think the past 2 days have been very affirming for me. I think it's affirmed what we're doing, and also raised a lot of questions about what gaps there are in our service and how we can do things better. I'm very thankful for John Kaufmarch's presentation, speaking about some of the challenges of working with paraprofessionals. And as you were talking, John, I was nodding my head and just a huge sigh of relief because we have similar challenges. The Parent Center was started in 1993, and it was started as a project of Cape Town Child Welfare, which is an organization that works mainly with children who've been abused. And so the research indicated that there was a need for primary preventive work, offering guidance and support to parents and also professionals working with parents. And then in 1997, we became a separate non-profit That's just our mission. We strive to contribute to a society in which every parent and caregiver is able to raise resilient children in ways in which they can develop their full potential, protected from victimization and abuse in communities free from violence. And these are our current services. I think since from 1993, it's expanded quite considerably. Initially, we only offered parenting and counseling and parenting skills training. We've now extended it to teen parenting skills training. We were approached by schools in the communities who were experiencing a high rate of teenagers who've had their babies and came back to school, and also teenagers who were taking care of their older siblings because their parents had died of HIV and of AIDS. We also run, and then our home visiting program. We're currently looking at also, as Doris was talking about, offering the content of the home visiting in a group format, and we've just launched a demonstration project. Then we also have support groups, a fatherhood program. We realized how important it is to work with the fathers. So often, too long, we've only been working with the moms. We also offer behavior management, train the trainer program. We find that we are quite a relatively small organization. We have a total staff of about 60, and it's impossible to reach all parents and caregivers in the country, so we do a lot of training of other organizations, mentoring and support. We discovered that when we train, we can't just leave, we actually have to do follow-up support. And then also the library, and number 12, we've just started an under 3 clinic for parents who are experiencing problems with their children with crying, sleeping, and separation. And again, some photos of some of the participants in the program. And then how did the program start? Interestingly, it was started when our director attended a conference in Chicago on the Healthy Families program, and came back very excited by what she'd heard. And so I was very keen to meet Ms. Darrow. And then a colleague, Murray Landman, who's a psychologist, then took it forward and got permission from Healthy Families to start a demonstration project in Hanover Park, which is a community with a high rate of child maltreatment, violence, gangsterism. At that, I think it's important to note that at that point, we had to adapt the Healthy Families program to the context of that community. And then in 1995, Murray presented at the First South African Congress on infant mental health, and it drew the attention of local and international researchers, which then culminated in a Tulisana research project, which World Health Organization funded quite considerably. So I actually feel it's like our home visiting program has been a sort of almost global effort. I'm going to be talking a bit more about the Tulisana project, and then post-2001, we've expanded it to the 10 communities in Cape Town. And it's all communities, vulnerable communities where there's high rates of poverty, high rates of family violence, teenage pregnancy, HIV. And I think I need to mention at this point that it's been a long, hard slog, especially in a country where resources are very limited and where there hasn't been a focus on prevention work. So the Tulisana project, firstly, it was a two-stage study, and it first looked at the rate of maternal depression in Khayelitsha, which is a community with under-resourced, poverty, and so on. And the findings indicated that there was a 34% rate of maternal depression, which is 3 times the rate in Western samples. An association between maternal depression and poor emotional and practical support from partner. So dad support is so important. And then also an association indicator between maternal depression and insensitive engagement with infants. I think I need to note at this point, when the project was started, Murray Landman often says, she started with Healthy Families, but she often says, I didn't know what I was doing. And what happened after the presentation at the Infant Mental Health Congress, and researchers got involved, the program that was then redesigned completely and restructured, and became based on the Health Visitor Preventive Intervention Program. One of the researchers, Lynn Murray from the Reading University in UK, was working with this program, and we saw the potential of testing it out in our context, and we also incorporated principles from the World Health Organization, a document on improving psychosocial development of children. And the main aim of the program then became to provide the mother with emotional support and encourage her in sensitive, responsive interaction with the infant. So it was quite a shift from Healthy Families to a program where there was a focus on sensitive interaction with infant. And then also incorporated the neonatal behavioral assessment schedule, which we also had to adapt to the context. We couldn't use all the items. We trained our 4 community counselors in Khayelitsha, and the training program was also completely revised. A program manual was developed giving the community counselors clear instructions on what needed to take place in the visits and also how they were going to conduct themselves in the visits. I just need to find my place with my notes. I think I've gone a bit faster than I could keep up with my notes. With the, the epidemiology, I think I've gone past this. Oh, that's a picture of Kailicha, also just to give you an idea of what the community that the research was conducted it looked like. And then after the randomized control trial was also conducted with 449 pregnant women, 220 assigned to the intervention and 229 to the non-intervention. And the findings indicated that the intervention moms were more sensitive and less intrusive. There was a higher rate of secure attachment, and there was an insignificant difference in the rate of clinical depression, but the intervention group did have lower depressive symptom scores. This research has been published in the British Medical Journal in 2009. I have the reference at the end of the presentation, so if you're interested in having a look at it. So what is the structure of the home visiting program? Before we can start, we need to obviously identify the need and partner with local community organizations. We work very strongly with the local or public maternity and obstetric units. There's stringent selection of prospective community counselors, and I think I can't stress this enough, how important stringent selection is. And some of the characteristics that we look for is a passion for working with parents and infants. I think that is critical, because as some of the other speakers have said, it's difficult work. We look for warmth, an ability to listen, because our approach is a counseling approach. And we look for, we find a lot of what works is finding counselors who have some passion for working in their community. Because again, community work is quite hard. We then have, once they're selected for the training, they go through a 156-hour training program with mid-evaluation and final evaluation, and we may actually counsel out somebody from the training at mid-evaluation point or even final evaluation point. The potential supervisors attend the whole training program as well. And then who is home visited? This is the list of risk criteria: unplanned pregnancy, no support from partner, difficult relationship with own mother, no support from family and friends, poverty, intimate partner violence, abuse in the past, mental illness, particularly depression, and teenage pregnancy. This is a picture of one of the counselors recruiting 2 teenage moms at the local maternity and obstetric unit. Another way that we recruit mothers is through clinic talks at the local maternity units. And we find that this is becoming an increasingly important way or effective way of actually recruiting mothers. Often mothers, after they've been heard about the program, ask to be visited. Our approach to working with pregnant women and new parents, as I mentioned earlier, we adopt a counseling approach. We give information, not advice. We respect the parent or caregiver's right to make choices, and I think that's not always easy. We respect and believe in the parent's ability to problem solve, and we see that even in the harshest circumstances, that when clients are given the space to problem solve, they actually can. And I think it's really important that as the counselors, you actually believe that they can, that they do have that capacity. We also build the parent's self-esteem through recognizing what she or he is doing right. And that's also been mentioned quite often during the past 2 days. We model a tuned and sensitive interaction with the infant. And this is particularly important when you're working with a depressed mother who is not engaging with the infant. And often we find that when the counselor can demonstrate a tuned engagement, that it actually can draw the mother out, and where she can actually see what it's like to engage in a positive way. We also encourage and support the involvement of the father and the other family members who may be involved in caring for the infant. And in circumstances where it's necessary, we may actually have to step in and protect the infant and actually refer to the state services involved in child protection. Also, a lot of mediation is done on behalf of the mother with other organizations, with Darius mentioned referring, and in some instances the counselor may actually accompany the mother, for example, to a clinic or to the psychiatric nurse because it's too difficult. She's struggling to do it on her own, and we aim for good enough parenting. I think this is really important to mention the approach when working with staff, because without staff there's no program. Supervision is vital for all program staff, for support, ongoing learning, accountability, and program fidelity. And we find that supervision for all levels of staff is necessary. The counselors have weekly supervision with a supervisor who's a psychologist or a social worker. And the weekly supervision is either thrice a month it's individual, and or thrice a month it's group supervision, and once a month individual. The supervisors also have supervision 4 times a month. And the program manager, also have supervision, consultation with a clinical psychologist fortnightly. So as I mentioned, staff wellness and safety is priority because, again, I can't emphasize this enough. Without staff, there's no program. And also, I think it's mentioned by some of the other speakers that staff interaction should model positive interaction. The positive interaction we seek to promote with parents and caregivers. This is just a run-through of what's covered in the antenatal visits. Each session is started with tuning in to where the mother is and giving her space to listen to her concerns that she may have. There's contracting. It's really important for us that the mother consents to the visits and that she gives her participation, that she says that she's going to be participating in the visits. And it's not prescriptive, it's a choice that she makes. We explore the mother's feelings about the pregnancy, alternative care options if she's decided that she doesn't want to care for the baby herself, so we give that space for her to think about that. Exploration, the mother's health, antenatal, we talk about antenatal appointments, and also various tests that are done during the antenatal appointments. If the mother's HIV positive, we'll explore feelings about being HIV positive and also refer to the program for HIV positive mothers. We talk about fetal development and also alcohol and drug use and potential risks to the developing fetus. Very important features to look at the mother support structures. So what does she have already that can help her through this difficult process? The EPDS is administered once antenatally and twice postnatally. We also give her information with breastfeeding and formula feeding and help her to think ahead of time. So how are you actually going to feed this infant once he or she is born? We also talk about her relationship with the fetus and assess how the attachment process, whether she is actually attaching to this fetus or not. Preparation for labor and birth and so on. Then there's 15 postnatal visits. The first visit is done around about the 3rd day postnatally, and the last visit ends at 6 months. Again, each session is started with tuning into the mother, birth debriefing, discussing the baby blues, and focusing on assisting the mother and father and with challenges that may be experiencing with infant feeding, sleeping, crying, and also difficulties with older children. And quite a number of the moms that we work with have older siblings as well. And again, focusing on promoting attunement and sensitive interaction. The infant growth and attachment is monitored throughout. Baby clinic attendance is encouraged and monitored. The EPDS is administered postnatally the 3rd visit and the 13th visit, and if referral for assessment is indicated, that we'll follow up on that. And again, also linking the mother to appropriate resources. So it's really important for the counselors to know the resources in their communities. I think I wanted to share on the behavioral assessment, but I actually want to go through to share some of the cases, one of the cases that we're working with. And so if you want to ask me about this later on, please feel free to come and chat. One of the items of the behavioral assessment is imitation and reciprocity, and you can actually see how, as the mother shifts her position, the baby, you actually see that kind of interaction happening. Now, I must share this mom. We took one of our funders recently to visit this mom, and she said to the funders, I do take a drink now again, but it's just to relax a little bit. She was quite cheeky, but it was wonderful to see the positive engagement that took place during that visit. And I took a series of photos, and as you click on the camera, you can actually see the shifting happening. So in spite of her drinking now and again, it was very encouraging to see what was happening between the two of them. Okay. I just need to check, Maristella, I just need to check how much time I have, please.
You have 10 exactly
10 minutes.
now.
Okay. I thought I'd like to talk about one of the cases because just to give you an idea of what takes place during the home visits. So this is a case of Mother T and Baby C. She's 20. It was a first pregnancy. It was unplanned. Excuse me. She was referred by the maternity unit at 6 months, and they were concerned that she was using TIC, which is another name for crystal meth. She was unemployed and living with the maternal grandmother, her mother. Highest grade pass was grade 10. The father's 26, employed. He was employed at the beginning when we initially started visiting her. He was happy about the pregnancy. He lived with his parents a few kilometers away from mother, so could visit her quite often. And he also used crystal meth. The counselor was 38, and she was a mother of 2. She had 2 children, the age 15 and 20. She was divorced. She'd been home visiting for 9 months, so she was very new to the field. And I think quite a challenging case for someone so new. And she had completed grade 12, so had completed a high school education. And she had some previous training as a breastfeeding peer counselor. Most of our counselors have no previous training. They've completed high school, and that's it. And then they come into our training program. So I'm going to read through the notes. So this mother was referred by the maternity unit, and the counselor contacted her telephonically to make the appointment, and she agreed to be visited. The first visit, the mother again gave consent to the visit, and the counselor contracted with her around when the visits would take place, confidentiality, privacy, and so on. During this very first visit, the mother mentioned that she was tired because she had used crystal meth the night before, or the day before, and had been up the whole night, and consequently was tired. She said she used because she was bored and she had nothing else to do. She knew it was wrong for her baby. Halfway through the visit, the mother went to the bathroom and didn't come back. So she left the counselor sitting there. The counselor was in shock. She didn't know what to do. I think she waited until the end of the visit and then left, and then came to supervision a few days later and was in quite a panic. But she was quite keen to go back because she'd seen this mother in the community and had seen the mother looking quite disheveled, and also she'd seen the partner beat the mother up on the street. So she was very keen to go back and provide support to the mother. On the second visit, the counselor went back for the second visit, and the mother said that she hadn't used crystal meth since the last visit, and she had thought about what it could do to a baby, and she said her boyfriend was still using. The mother seemed calmer, more contained. On the first visit, she was looking very unkempt, and the house was untidy. On this visit, she was looking calmer, the house was looking neater. So the counselor sensed that maybe she was being honest, but we didn't know. Mother apologized for having run out of the first session, and she said that she'd gone to the drug dealer to get more drugs. She also mentioned that the boyfriend was quite happy about the baby, and he would actually check. On the first visit, the counselor had given the mother an appointment card, and the boyfriend was now checking to see when the next appointment would happen. So he was very supportive of the home visit. What was reassuring is that this mother said she'd been thinking about her baby quite a bit and wondering, and really struggling with the issue of giving up drugs, and the counselor spoke to her about rehabilitation, but she wasn't ready at that point. But we held on to the hope that she would at some point be prepared to go for treatment. And also her concern for her baby was reassuring, and that was another sort of light at the end of the tunnel for us. So there was another antenatal visit 2, and also it seemed better. The counselor was actually able to get through some of the content of the visit and give the mother information on breastfeeding, also speak to her about what their drug taking might be doing to the developing fetus, and the counselor came away quite encouraged. On the fourth visit, which was supposed to be the antenatal 3 visit, to the counselor's surprise, the mother actually gave birth. And the mother said it was a premature baby, but according to the birth weight, the baby was full term. The mother still spoke about taking drugs. I think to fast forward a bit, by the 6th visit, this mother had actually done a complete turnaround. She had said that she wasn't taking drugs anymore. Her EPDS score was 10, which was considerably low compared to a lot of the moms that we work with. She was looking much better. She was engaging with the infant when we did the behavioral assessment. We observed positive interaction, which was also very encouraging. 2 visits down the line, the partner committed suicide. And we were concerned about how this mother was going. The partner committed suicide. He took pills and we were concerned about how this mother was going to cope. With the counselor providing some grief counseling, we actually saw that she actually coped quite well. But by the time that we ended off with the visits, she was at postnatal 15. She had still maintained. She was still off drugs. There was positive interaction between the mother and baby, and it was a very, very challenging case because, especially for the counselor, as I mentioned earlier, she was a new counselor. It was, and I think without the support of the supervision, it would have been almost extremely difficult for actually to cope with the case. I think why I chose this case, and for the sake of time, I've run through it quite speedily. Perhaps if there was more time, I could go through the finer details. But I've chosen this case to see that even in very difficult circumstances where there is substance abuse, that it is possible with paraprofessionals to make a huge difference. Now, not all cases have such a positive outcome. But I think this is the type of case that we hold on to, and the kind of case that I think gives us the energy to keep going on. Yes. Can I just take 1 minute to just end off? Yeah. I think just talking about some of the lessons learned. Again, I think it's come out from the other speakers that supervision is important. Change is possible even in the most difficult circumstances, but also some clients, despite support and information, may continue to struggle, and and we may need to refer to child protection services. One of the other cases I wanted to talk about was a mom with schizophrenia, and she did very well during the antenatal visits, but with the pregnancy, the childbirth brought on a psychotic episode, and she wasn't actually, and she couldn't manage with the care, and we actually had to refer to child protection services. You can't work in isolation. Again, ongoing training is vital, a rigorous selection of staff, and in our context, again, ongoing securing of funding so that we can continue offering the service. If you want the references on the research, I suppose you could email me and I could give it to you. And thank you for listening, and that's part of our team in Cape Town.